So, the Habs have the Lightning, the dreaded Tampa Bay Lightning, in a Stanley Cup final rematch of 2021. However, before we dive into that game, which is going to be happening at 7 p.m. EST, we have ourselves some notes to go over when it comes to this team from various NHL insiders, as well as just an overall game update too. Because when it comes to Jake Evans, Nick Suzuki, and Ivan Demidov, there are some pretty interesting notes to dive into from Tuesday morning. As always, the show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out the first link in the description. If you need a VPN, you want to save some money, and you want to get some free months on your VPN, also using our link and making your transaction on there helps out the channel. So thank you very much for all your support. However, today we're diving into the Montreal Canadiens, and in fact, I wanted to start out by talking about the updates that we had seen in the actual game, because if we take a look at Ivan Demidov and what he had done earlier this morning against Lokomotiv Yaroslavl, SKA St. Petersburg ended up winning 5-2, and Ivan Demidov got himself on the score sheet one more time. He had himself a goal and an assist, and both of the points were really beautiful points. The assist was on the opening goal of the game, where Demidov is twisting and turning and dangling on the man advantage to the front of the goal. He ends up trying to feed it back to his D, but it gets intercepted. Lokomotiv then takes it back, but SKA is quickly back onto it. Demidov then has the puck on the left side, and he makes a beautiful cross-ice pass to the far right for the 1T and the goal. It is a very pretty primary assist, and that's not all from Demidov in this hockey game, as making it 3-1 in the game in the second period, you had Demidov dipsy-do dangle by two defenders on the rush, heading onto the backhand, and then quickly pull it back over to the forehand, shooting at 5-hole and getting it to go. Rinse and repeat. Ivan Demidov got himself two beautiful points in this SKA St. Petersburg game, and he is now climbing up the ranks on the way to matching or maybe even overtaking Kirill Kaprizov's U20 point production record. He's got 37 points on the season. He is 5 points away from tying the Kirill Kaprizov record. And for bonus points, if you wanted to see him do it in the same or fewer amount of games played as Kirill Kaprizov, Demidov will have 5 games to get these 5 points. And he's been over a point per game the past little while with more ice time, so I'm feeling pretty optimistic, but of course we can't go out there and guarantee anything. Anyways, let's move over to the regular Montreal Canadiens and talk about one of the stories with a player on their team. It is none other than Nick Suzuki, because there was a post made on, well, it was actually on The Athletic, but it was discussed and written about here on Twitter because of this screenshot. Take a look at this Habs on Reddit post. According to Arpon Basu on The Athletic, Habs captain Nick Suzuki is heavily involved in managing the Habs schedule. Suzuki is involved in managing the schedule. His input as captain goes into the decision to cancel the morning skates, to cancel practices. For example, after the Canadiens had stayed over in Salt Lake City after the game against Utah on Tuesday, there was a plan to practice, but they couldn't get ice time because the Rangers were also in town at the same time. So the Canadiens simply traveled to Dallas on Wednesday. And one of the top replies goes out there and says, "So this is what happens when you have a good captain." And there is a little bit of cynicism as well that you can say presents itself with this situation. One of the replies here on Twitter says, "Oh, like they canceled practice. They couldn't get ice time. Suzuki canceled it. Like, why is that a good thing?" But ultimately, I think that criticism strays away from the point that the article is making here, that Nick Suzuki is one of the guys whose input is being considered and taken into consideration when the Habs decide to do things. Suzuki says, hey, we're not able to get ice time, we have this trip and we're still on it, so why not just travel right now? Why not cancel the practice here? Why not reschedule things over there? Suzuki is getting involved here, and it is such a leadership quality of his, that decision, that willingness to lead. That's one of these things that I don't think the Montreal Canadiens have had too much of over the past little while. Out of other players, like obviously no disrespect to the Brian Giantas or everybody else who has donned the C for the Montreal Canadiens, but Nick Suzuki, it's almost like he's going above and beyond the pay grade, which obviously is what you want to see out of everybody, really. Like, on this team, you want to see everybody doing their work to a capacity that we thought was unattainable. We want to see people go above and beyond. That's the thing. And Nick Suzuki is doing that as the captain in terms of his leadership on and off the ice. And this is a really good example of that. His input, his judgment, it's all valued here. And the Montreal Canadiens are listening to him. I know that's not really like the most newsworthy quote-unquote thing to talk about, but I did get a little bit of a kick out of that and wanted to acknowledge it here on the YouTube channel. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about Nick Suzuki taking a more direct approach to leading this team, not just in terms of its set plays and leadership on the ice, but also in terms of how the team is literally ran? Furthermore, to end off this video, I wanted to go over one more thing. This is all in response to the trade talk that we had seen lately. In particular, you had yourselves Pierre LeBrun go out there onto, what was the show over here? It was Radar. That's what it was. Radar with Pierre LeBrun. And he provides an update on Jake Evans and the trade situation with the New Jersey Devils. So we're going to go over and leave a link in the description of the video, as well as the article that I'm going to pull, which goes out there and transcribes the Pierre LeBrun comments. Take a look at this. This is what he talks about with Jake Evans. Among the teams with Evans' name on their list, there are the New Jersey Devils. According to my information, they would like to acquire a center for their third or fourth line. Evans is a right-handed shot capable of winning faceoffs and killing penalties. And yes, of course, that is exactly what we had been touting Evans as for the past few weeks now, especially during his stint where he was scoring all those goals. And for the New Jersey Devils, I mean, you think about their team and their center core, I mean, Hischier Hughes. That's already one of the best center cores in the entire NHL. Add on a Jake Evans to their third line, who can provide serviceable penalty killing and bottom six defensively minded minutes, and you have yourselves a very well-equipped team for the playoffs. However, the reason this is interesting is because Pierre LeBrun goes out there and also talks about the idea of Montreal extending Evans instead of trading him away. The insider also stated that we shouldn't expect the Canadiens GM to offer the moon to his center to keep him in Montreal. He will do so if it's at the right price. If Evans ever asks for too much and is unable to reach an agreement with the Habs, then a trade to the Devils could indeed become a real possibility. Evans, who is earning $1.9 million, is having by far the best season of his career, and we can expect that he will at least double his annual salary with his next contract. So, $3.8 million? That's pretty steep, not gonna lie, but for Jake Evans and the improvements that he has shown so far throughout the season, I think there's reason to give him money like that, especially when you consider just how poised everything around him seems to be. It's not even just Jake Evans looking good, it's everybody around him, his whole line, his whole PK unit. It's all been great. So this obviously is a very special player, and for the Montreal Canadiens, I mean, you've spent so much time developing this guy and having him progress throughout the system that it would feel kind of cheap to let him go for maybe a third or a fourth round pick or something like that, or a second. I guess it would be long-term investing by trading him away for a higher draft pick than it was used to acquire him in the first place. But at the end of the day, Jake Evans is a very valuable piece, and we recognize that if he does ask for a little bit too much money, then there is a very real possibility that he gets sent over to the New Jersey Devils. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about each of these three stories? Firstly, Ivan Demidov going out there and doing his thing. He is almost up there with Kirill Kaprizov in the Hall of Fame of U20 KHL scorers. He is so close, and he has so many games to go. Obviously, knock on wood, nothing bad happens, but for Ivan Demidov, he is doing his thing. What are your thoughts on Nick Suzuki being the captain that he is, going out there and making things happen on and off the ice, leading this team by example, and being the ultimate caretaker for the Montreal Canadiens hockey team on the road? And what are your thoughts on this Jake Evans trade update? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.